Good morning, everyone. We are dedicating our learning, as we always do, in memory of all those whose Yortzeit falls today. Wish Paul Simnock your long life and the occasion of his Yortzeit for his late father, as well as all those that have Yortzeit today. Good morning, Clarice, Peter, Eitan, Deborah, and Andrea, amongst others. I want to finish off with one point from the previous Mishnah. We're in chapter 1 of Ethics of the Fathers. It's absolutely fascinating as we journey through these eternal values and principles which really have ensured that this is when you speak about a person being a mensch or menschlichkeit, this is where it comes from. So we were discussing about the fact that you're meant to give people the benefit of the doubt. We spoke about in Maimonides three different categories: a wicked person, a righteous person, and an in-between person. We said yesterday that in the case of a wicked person, then you wouldn't have to give them the benefit of the doubt, whereas in the case of a righteous, you would, however remote the possibility. Whereas somebody who's an intermediate person, who's an average person, then where there is reasonable grounds to justify the behavior, then you would have to give them the benefit of the doubt. There is another way of understanding Hevidanas Kol Adam L'Kav Zchus, or giving every person the benefit of the doubt. We've said this before. Instead of translating it as every person, translate it as the whole person. In other words, judge not kol ha'adam, every person, but all of the person. Listen to the way I'm translating. Kol ha'adam, the whole person, the all of the person. In other words, if I look, whenever I notice, be it with your spouse or with your child or with your parent, your mother, your father, your sibling, whatever, whoever it is, and you find fault, you're critical of their behavior, you cast a jaundiced eye over what they're doing, and it may be that what they are doing is wrong. I'm not trying to, sugarcoat and brush it under the carpet. But, and here is the big but. Sorry, good morning to those that are joining us still. Good morning, Richard, Eitan, again, David, and Andrea. I think I've said good morning to everyone else already. But do I focus my attention on that point of fault, or do I see the totality of the person? In other words, when I'm judging a person, I can hone in on that particular weakness. I can hone in on that particular fault, that constant, and usually it is, if you think about it, we're humans and we're creatures of habits. So very often we repeat the mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. Rather, we repeat the same things. We argue with our spouses, with our husbands, our wives, our kids, over the same things day in, day out. Sounds familiar? So if that's the case, the way that we should, the antidote, I guess, is what we find right here in Ethics of the Fathers, to judge the totality of the person. I can look at this one particular thing, or I can put this in perspective in relation to everything else. If I take a step back and instead of zooming in on that particular fault, that particular upset and disappointment that I am feeling, and it's very real. Nobody's saying that we should brush it under the carpet or not recognize it, but I'm also able to see at the same time all the goodness and the care and concern over so many years and over the totality of a lifetime and each day that a person experiences with someone else. And when we do that, then although that person is at fault and there is no question they've caused us untold harm, I put it in perspective. And now it's easier said than to be done, but nonetheless, that is what we are challenged to do at the end of Mishnah Vov. That's finishing off where we were last time. Okay, let's move on. There is an amazing story that goes with that. Should we do the story? Yes, we're getting this. I can see from Andrea's expression on her face that she would like me to tell the story. So there was somebody that stole a watch. One of the boys, his watch went missing. And what the teacher said is, listen, one of you's got the watch. None of you are getting out of here until we get it back. And then what I want to do is I want you to all line up. I want you to take whatever's in your pockets out and put it in your hands. And I'm going to go past and I'll put my hand in your hands. And whoever has the watch, I will take it. I will take it. I will take the watch back and give it to that boy. Anyways, the teacher does it, finds the watch and gives it back. Okay, nothing more is said. 20 years later, this old teacher's retired, and he bumps into a young teacher, and he comes over to him and he says, I owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. And the senior teacher says to him, why? He says, you don't remember me, but I was in your class. And I was very inspired by you as a teacher. I was a nightmare to deal with. I was one of those, nightmare students. But there was something in particular that you did. What? So he said, what was it? He says, you may remember there was an incident many years ago with a watch, that somebody stole the watch. Well, I want to, I'm sure you remember that it was me, that I stole the watch and you never punished me. And that really made an impression on me. The teacher says, I don't know what you're talking about. So the young teacher says, what do you mean? You don't know what I'm talking about? You don't remember the incident with the watch? Says, yeah, I remember the incident with the watch. But I had no idea it was you. So the younger teacher says, but what are you talking about? You took it from my hands and you gave it back to the boy. You gave it back to the other student. So the teacher says, when I took the watch from your hand, my eyes were closed because I didn't want to embarrass anyone. That is what it means to judge the totality of a person. The teacher gave that boy the benefit of the doubt, gave that boy a second chance. And as a result of that, he went on to be an inspiring teacher himself. Remarkable story. We move on to the next Mishnah. We'll make a start on it, if you don't mind. Nitai Ha-Bailey, are we getting excited? How much bunting? What's the halachas of bunting? Does anybody know? How much bunting do you have to have around? Do you put it on the other side of the mezuzah on the front door? Do you put it on all sides of your house? Or is it just on the front entrance like the menorah? We've got to ask all these questions. The halachas of bunting kehilchosim. We have to know how we do bunting when it comes to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And how many Union Jacks do we have to wear? A hat, a tie. I'm very excited. I'm excited. I'm a big royalist. I'll let you into a little secret. She is a distant relative of mine. Through Lord Mountbatten's wife is related to the Hackenbrocks. It's very distant, but nonetheless, it's in the book, the family tree. Anyways, Nitai Ha-Bailey. Now, what do you think of me? Nitai Ha-Bailey oimer hachet mishachen ra. You should distance yourself from a shochen ra, a bad neighbor. V'al tischa rasha, and do not connect to wickedness. V'atis min aparonus, and do not give up from the hardships. Okay, so if you're struggling, don't give up. I think it was Winston Churchill, was it not? I saw it in a book this week. Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going. When you're going through hell, keep going. So I think that's what we are hinting to at the end of the Mishnah. So let's just have a first, a cursory glance at the first part of this Mishnah. Sorry, we'll have to continue tomorrow. Got a bit more time this week, or at least I should have, because it's half term and all of that. So hachet mishachin ra, distance yourself from a shachin ra. If we think about the influences around us, one of the key influences is the neighborhood in which we live, those that we surround ourselves with. Our neighbors see us at our best and they see us at our worst, and vice versa. And the way that we are influenced is by what people do more than what they say. So therefore, if you have a good neighbor, somebody who's considerate, somebody who's sensitive, somebody who there's no question, if you are in an environment where more people are doing the right thing than the wrong thing. Every Friday everyone's running around getting ready for Shabbos, and you can smell Shabbos in the air, and people are bringing each other cheesecake before Shavuos, and there's a lot of care and concern during lockdown. That makes you a better person. We are influenced one way or the other. If we have neighbors which are very insular, very self-centered, they're only interested really in their own lives, their own houses, their own, then inevitably we will become more like that. That's the tendency. Rabbi Sachs always told a story in relation to neighbors about a great Harvard professor. And when he was a younger boy, he wrote in his memoirs later that when he was a young boy, he was a black man, and as a young boy, he and his family moved in to this prosperous white neighborhood, and nobody wanted to know them. They arrived, and all of a sudden, it was like a fish out of water. They felt everyone was staring at them. It was a hot day, and he was very sad to have left behind all his friends, and he felt very uncomfortable in this new environment. And right then, this old woman came across the road with some juice and brought it on a tray to them with some cookies. And it was a Jewish woman. And he said he never forgot that act of kindness, that welcoming by a neighbor to the neighborhood. And that's something that stuck with him throughout all his years. And he always told this story. I forget his name, so on will remind me. But the point I'm trying to make is that who we surround ourselves with, you need to make sure that not just your neighbors, but your friends are people that are going to be positive influences, not negative. People that are positive in their outlook. Are people always pulling you down? Are they sapping all your energy? Is everything, bad, and everything's critical and speaking badly about other people? Or is it that there's a positive vibe? We can do it. We can make it. Let's make a difference. That's the type of people that we need to ensure that we surround ourselves with, and through that positivity, it will rub off on our families and on our children and grandchildren. So that's the end of today's session. We wish everyone well, and we're going to conclude with a memorial prayer and and Refuah Shlema. We'll also do Esa Enai for a change. We did do it yesterday, I think. Sheila Malas, Esa Enai Larim, Ein Yavo Ezri, Ezri Miyam Adonai, Asa Shemayim Ba'aretz. Al Yiteina Mot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha, Hinei Lo Yanum V'Lo Yishan, Shom Yisrael, Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha, Yad Yiminecha. Yom HaShemesh Lo Yakerka, V'Yarech B'Layla, Adonai Shmocha Mikara, Yishmos Nafshecha, Adonai Shmos Yischavuecha, Me'ata V'Yad Olam. Lastly, memorial prayer. Adonai mim zacho es nishma yishalchu lina mama navana rachamim zatzrim zaysa kanafecha liyolamim v'tzachas shmasam Adonai nachlasam v'yanuchu b'shlom mishkavam v'namar Amen. Long life wishes for Shlema. Misha Baruch Avosenu Avraham Yisrael Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarech Rafa Zachaylim Bavu Shana Mispalim Bavu Biz Chazai Kadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachim Aleihem Lachem Rufasam Yishlach Lem Fushim Shemaim Lachol Rein Baso Shach Yisrael Rufus and Nefesh Fusaguv Hashavak Zmagrib Nama Amen. Every single Shabbat we say a prayer for the royal family. What does the royal family, what does the Queen really mean to you? Yeah, it's nice, but there are other countries that have a head of state, a president. Israel has a president, or the state of Israel. What difference does it make to you to have Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, she should live to 120, as opposed to having a president? I'd like to hear from you. So that's something for you to think about, and perhaps you can share with me tomorrow, because if we're going to celebrate, and boy, are we going to celebrate, we have to know what we are celebrating and why we are celebrating. Have a great day. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.